Now, one of the questions that a lot of students have right now in their mind is that AI is going to replace some of the jobs. So, from your perspective, which are the jobs which will get impacted first in finance?
There absolutely will be some job replacement, and whenever I talk about it, I don't just say it diplomatically that AI will evolve the jobs and all of those things and it will not take up your job. It can absolutely take up your job.
New kind of jobs that will come in place in the market, because we have been hearing about prompt engineering a lot. But when I hear about it, or any normal candidate hear about it, you will always think that prompt engineering is for engineering people, not for finance.
Yeah. Prompt engineering used to be a thing probably 1 year back. But now, if you ask me, is prompt engineering a thing? I would say no, because
A lot of students are worried that there might not be jobs available.
so that is one thing to always be cautious about, that AI will not always be right. Because if AI is always right, then what's the need for the human in the loop that I talked about, right?
And one, if suppose everybody starts using AI, even in trading and in all of the activities, will AI have the capacity to bring a new financial crisis? Okay.
They don't think how to control it first. They just build it. When they feel that there is a need to control it, then they start thinking that, okay, how to control it, right?
Okay.
So the control, the risk management, and the governance comes with a lag.
If I ask you something like this, that if you go back in time and you become, say, 21 age, and you decide to start your finance certification journey, and now you have done FRM, CFA, CIA, and CQF. Okay, which certification would you have started and why?
I would definitely go with CFA because that is the golden standard for finance and that builds a base which is very, very strong.
What is that one mistake that a lot of students are making right now in their career? Hello, guys. I hope everybody is doing good. Hi, this is Ganesh Nayak. I help finance professionals and students to excel in their career and become a better version of themselves. And I also help students who are preparing for competitive exams in finance like CFA, FR, MSCR. Now, as a part of that journey, we generally do a lot of podcasts with people from the industry, trying to understand what are the different roles, what are the different opportunities, and how somebody can make a career in finance. And today, I'm having a conversation with Mudit Gupta, and he's going to be talking about his exciting journey in finance, okay, and also how many certifications he's completed. And we'll also be talking about how AI is shaping the world of finance. Okay, so let us have a quick discussion. And Mudit, thank you very much for joining in. And if you can give a brief about you yourself for the audience first.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ganesh sir, for having me in your podcast once again. Hello, everyone. I am Mudit Gupta. I am the finance and the tech guy. So I've done certifications like CFA, FRM, CAIA, and CQF, which we'll talk about in detail. And then I also have like a lot of passion in technology, finance, programming, which I practice along with my work. So we'll talk about that, and really happy to be here in your podcast.
Perfect. So one of the reason that we have done a previous podcast, but one of the reason for you to get you in today is to talk about AI in finance. Okay. Now, when you think about this from the layman perspective, somebody who is a normal graduate in finance, he's done BCom, BMS, or somebody who's working in a bank in operations. For him, if you can tell us how AI is shaping the world of finance, a brief about that.
Yeah, so artificial intelligence basically is like very generic AI intelligence that we currently have in our fingertips. We all have ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, these AI platforms on our fingertips, right? So we can query anything and we'll get an answer. So we have like a very generalist technology that we have, which we can use to understand the world of finance. For example, if you're doing a certifications, you would have a lot of query while you're studying or while you're going doing a deep dive in that specific topic. So long back when you did not have such technology, you would wait for the teacher to come in and then you would have a Q&A session. But right
Correct.
now the pace of learning has become tremendous. You just have a query and you just don't even have to type these days. You just speak out loud your query and then you'll have the answer right away. So the pace of learning, I would say, has gone 1000x faster than previously. So the students can actually use this AI technology, which is a generalist technology, and I'll tell you why am I calling it a generalist technology specifically. So the students
Okay.
can actually use it, pace up their learning.
Now, one of the questions that a lot of students have right now in their mind is that AI is going to replace some of the jobs. So, from your perspective, which are the jobs which will get impacted first in finance?
Absolutely. So there absolutely will be some job replacement. And whenever I talk about it, I don't just say it diplomatically that AI will evolve the jobs and all of those things and it will not take up your job. It can absolutely take up your job. There are certain types of jobs which will be absolutely erased. And then, of course, jobs will evolve as technology evolves. The job also evolves, right? So there are two kind of things that you have to, like, there are two perspectives. First is objectivity and the other one is subjectivity, right?
Okay.
Objectivity means that there are certain calculations that you have to do, right? Those things are objective, those things will be as is, right? If you do it, it'll be the same. If someone else does it, it will be the same. It's
Okay.
standardized processes. Those things which are manual, and repetitive, those will absolutely be taken over by AI as it evolves, and as it gets better. But the other part, which is the subjectivity part, say for example, we have a rule for A and we have a rule for B, but if you get a situation which is C, which is neither A or B, then you have to have your subjective call, right? So that subjectivity will be replaced by AI maybe 5 years down the line. We never know. But as of now, that is still open. And that is where we need to upskill ourselves and get a practical overview of what things are, get the psychological stuff, and then have that subjectivity factor and upskill ourselves in
Okay.
that. So that is something which will not be taken over by AI as of now.
Wherever subjectivity is there, or wherever you need some qualitative input from
Absolutely.
humans around you, okay, definitely there you will have humans to do that activity. Now, so but any specific new kind of jobs that will come in place in the market, because we have been hearing about prompt engineering a lot, but when I hear about it, or any normal candidates hear about it, you will always think that prompt engineering is for engineering people, not for finance.
Yeah.
So can you
Yeah.
first
Correct.
tell me whether it's a myth or not? Second, which new
Hmm.
jobs will come because of AI?
Got it. So first about prompt engineering. So prompt engineering, if I lay it out in a few sentences, it is just, if you have a problem and if you want to solve it using AI, you need to describe your problem in a specific way so that you exactly get the output that you are expecting. That is
Correct.
prompt engineering. You have to write the prompt in such a way that you get the result that you want. Now, prompt engineering used to be a thing probably 1 year back. But now, if you ask me, is prompt engineering a thing? I would say no, because
Okay.
the models have been so much, the models are so good right now that if you give a prompt, it will actually keep on thinking and it will reprompt it itself if it has a certain things which is ambiguous. It will ask you follow-up questions, right? A very basic vague sentence, it will actually think on it. If you have the thinking mode on, it will think, it will ask you clarifying
Okay.
questions, and then it will engineer the prompt itself. So prompt engineering used to be a thing. I don't think it is right now.
Okay.
Now to your second question, that what types of different roles will come into the picture. Of course, AI governance is one of the things which will be um, everywhere in the next 6 months or 1 year down the line. And we'll talk about AI governance later on. But whenever you're automating any task using AI, there will always be human in the loop. And this is very important for all of us to understand, that no matter how many things you automate, what percentage of the whole process you automate, even if you automate 70% of the whole process, there
Mhm.
has to be human in the loop, because whatever output that the AI gives, it has to be checked. There comes the AI governance as well. So the human in the loop thing that I'm talking about will be the new kind of roles that will basically come in the future.
Okay. Wow. Fine. This is a very simplistic version of what we have been hearing about new AI stuff coming in. A lot of students are worried that there might not be jobs available for them. Okay. But when we talked about this AI governance also, okay, uh, is there any specific risk that uh, we should be worried about? Because a lot of people are now reading or preparing themselves for new AI roles. right? So they are basically learning how to create a model or how to use the LLMs and do something within your organization. Any specific risk that you should remember when you're deploying AI?
Yeah, there are so many things. Actually, there are a lot of things. So currently, I'm also leading some initiatives of AI into valuation at my work. So there are so many things. First of all, AI. Even if you use AI right now in Gemini or in Claude, it specifically says that AI doesn't always give the right answer, right?
Correct.
And the fact that AI hallucinates, right? So when we deal with like so many agreements, say for example I've uploaded 50 agreements or 10 agreements for a specific project, AI tends to hallucinate as well, because AI, which is basically an LLM, that's a deep learning model, which is a black box. If you tell AI A, you get an answer B. You don't know exactly how that A became B, right? You can't backtrack. It's a black box.
Okay.
So you never know what's happening inside it, right? So we
Correct.
need to be very cautious about the result of AI. There are so many things that the AI can do, and we just tend to take it on its face value that whatever it has said is right. And we tend to not check it again and again. And this is one risk which is absolutely there. So that is one thing to always be cautious about, that AI will not always be right. Because if AI is always right, then what's the need for the human in the loop that I talked about, right?
Like you mentioned that you're implementing AI in valuation. So in other areas also, what right now I have been hearing is that it has been used to say fetch a lot of data from market and create some tables and do some basic calculation. But for example, if I want to do a equity research report, I might be able to run an entire financial model, but the aspect where I understand the business is still not there. And
Absolutely.
in
For example, if you make a DCF, right,
Mhm.
there are so many assumptions that go inside that DCF, right? All of those assumptions have some levels of subjectivity, and it requires you to know the business. Say, for example, if a AI has prepared a DCF report with certain types of assumptions on certain industry and a specific company, a partner level person of any consulting firm would just look at the assumption and just say that this is not correct, right? Because that person has experience, that person has seen so many thousands and thousands of reports, that person knows the business in and out, right? So that subjectivity level has not been able to reach by the AI as of now, and that is something which we have to excel ourselves.
one, if suppose everybody starts using AI, even in trading and in all of the activities, will AI have the capacity to bring a new financial crisis?
Okay, that's a very interesting question. So if you think about financial crisis, why did it happen in the first place? I would say majorly there can be, of course, many reasons. Majorly it was bad intent and bad governance, like bad risk management, right?
Mhm.
Which we study in FRM, right? So bad intent and bad risk management. These are the two top things that comes in my mind. So if AI can trigger some bad intent, then maybe, but I don't think, because as AI is evolving, the risk management regarding the AI will be talked
Mhm.
about. Of course, it is being talked about. The regulators and all of those bodies, they are actually driving the AI governance discussions, right? So I think there will be some guardrails which will definitely be there, and I'm not sure if it is right to say that AI will not bring the financial crisis, because you never know how it
Okay.
evolves.
Now, in terms of the governance, you talked about that governance, AI governance is going to be a big thing now. So, can you help us understand more about what rules could come, or why are you saying it is going to be a big thing?
Yeah. So in any type of development that happens, people developing the AI, for example, or LLMs, it actually started long back in 1990s. The even before that, the whole AI thing, it did not start with ChatGPT. It started long back, right? So whenever people develop any specific technology,
Okay.
they don't think how to control it first. They just build it. When they feel that there is a need to control it, then they start thinking that, okay, how to control it,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So the control, the risk management, and the governance comes with a lag. And in the last, I would say, 6 to 7 years, we are observing tremendous growth in AI. And then
Hmm.
now we have started, hearing about AI governance as well. So it is coming with a lag, of course. say for example with Anthropic's Mythos model that they have released, everyone is shocked, right? So they all are alerted that there's something which can actually break a lot of things. So let us talk about how to control it. They've called a meeting from SEC and all of those big banks, investment banks, and big companies in the US. Even in India, they're discussing the
Sebi
repercussions
is
of
talking about it.
Mythos. Actually, exactly. So yeah, Mythos, I would say, has kind of triggered everything in AI governance, and everyone is
For,
talking about it.
for our audience, can you explain why is it triggered a response from regulators now, the mythos part?
Absolutely. So till now, the way the AI evolved, the pioneer was of course ChatGPT, OpenAI. They've released so many models. Google followed thereafter, and then Anthropic came into the picture. Anthropic basically became the talk of the road, talk of the town when they released this Opus models, and then when they actually had the Claude Cowork. At that point, and then 6 months down the line, everyone was talking about Anthropic and the Claude model. There are so many benchmarks that these models have. Now, in every benchmark, Claude model and the OpenAI's ChatGPT model, they were at par. But then Anthropic released or trained a specific model that they called Mythos, which broke all the benchmark records. The reason for the chaos that it created was that it actually was able to breach a lot of secured networks, its own secured network where it was tried to be contained, it breached that. And then it was tested in many secured networks, and then it found so many vulnerabilities of those systems, so many different bugs. It created a combination of different vulnerabilities to breach the system. Even the Anthropic as a company, they said that we will not release it, of course, to normal public, because if they get access to Mythos, they can probably even breach like pentos or nuclear power plants and all of those things. I mean, it could actually create a lot of chaos. So they were very responsible enough to keep it to them, and then they released it only to a few companies, JP Morgan, Apple, Google, a few companies, just to check. They released it to many banks as well, so that they can use Mythos and fix their systems so that those vulnerabilities are fixed. And then when Mythos comes to normal public, general public, they won't be able to actually target the banks and all of those things. So capability of this model Mythos created all the chaos in AI governance.
Okay, interesting, interesting. So, I mean, this dangerous part, dangerous aspect of AI, I think for that you need a good amount of governance, good amount of policy making, even at the government level, even at the company level. Now, I'll just slightly deviate from the AI discussion. I would also want to cover the career aspect. Okay. Now, if I ask you something like this, that if you go back in time and you become say 21 age, and you decide to start your finance certification journey, and now you have done FRM, CFA, CIA, and CQF. Okay, which certification would you have started and why?
I would definitely go with CFA because that is the golden standard for finance, and that builds a base which is very, very strong. As we know, CFA level 1 is introduction, level 2 is application calculation, and level 3 is application. So the way CFA curriculum is structured, it is so good. Blindly just go with CFA because
Okay,
the fundamentals is should be very strong. Yes.
okay. You would have also thought about learning about AI.
Yeah, on the side, but I would not give more priority to AI versus fundamental knowledge that the CFA would give me.
I also know that you have been talking to a lot of students who are in the finance industry right now. What is that one mistake that a lot of students are making right now in their career?
So, when you talk about students and they are in their journey to learn a lot of things, two mistakes that they are making is first of all choice of the certification. They are just doing a certification for the sake of doing a certification. Why did you do a specific certification? That answer should be very solid, right? But here in India, we just see that okay, my friend is doing FRM, I'll do FRM. My friend is doing CQF, I'll just do CQF. So that should not be the driving factor. That is one thing. The second thing that I've seen many students make this mistake, and I would not even call it a mistake because this is not a typical thing that students do. They are not having a practical approach while studying the theory. You can be really good in theory, but you should know the practical implications, the practical approach for all of the things that you're learning. For example, in FRM, when I used to study the credit risk and all of those calculations, right? The PD, LGD calculations, I used to build models inside of Excel. No one told me. It was not my homework. I just did that out of curiosity. I used to build binomial lattice models. I used to build interest rate trees, right? So right now in valuation, BDT, Black Dermatoid model, is a specific model which no one knows how to build it. But I actually did that while I was studying FRM. So
Okay.
practical application of theoretical knowledge is something you should always think about, because you can be really good in theory, but at work you can just not do what you've learned. So
Okay, interesting. And suppose if any student, he is in college right now, he's just gonna complete his graduation. He has 3 lakh rupees to invest in his career. Okay, so where should he put his money?
very good question. Where should he put his money? So he or she can put their money. I won't say that go for the certification, go for that certification, because just a moment back I said that you should have a good reason to select a certification. So first of all, you can just keep that 3 lakh side on the side. What I'm telling you is you should first spend time to know what you really want, what you're interested in.
Okay,
Have a certain framework to determine or to decide which certification you want to go ahead with, right? Explore, and then on the side you should also upskill yourselves, in terms of programming, because programming in finance is a big thing right now, and then of course AI, those things on the side. But for your fundamental level of knowledge, you should of course go for certifications. Should not also say that knowledge is free. I'll just go on YouTube and I learn finance. I will not do any certifications, CFA, FRM, because everything is there, right? Anything that you study in a CFA curriculum, you will get a YouTube video on that, right?
correct, correct,
Or you can get a book on that. But you should not
correct,
have that approach as well. That's also toxic, because CFA has structured all of those knowledge in a structured way, and then you go through that course.
correct,
That is a completely different thing versus you randomly lurking around in the YouTube and just watching any random videos, right? So a
correct.
structured format of a course is very important, extremely important to build your fundamental. And on the side you can do things like learning Python, learning AI, learning any other skill that would complement your fundamental knowledge in finance.
But if AI has become so much easily accessible for students or people, and is there a requirement for you to become an expert in terms of knowledge for the say products? Because if I don't know, I'll ask AI and I'll get the answer immediately. What is
Very
your view
good
on that?
question. Very good question. So, whatever students learn in, these certifications, CFA, FRM, all of those things, AI knows it all, because AI knows all of the Black-Scholes formula, everything, all the fundamentals of finance. AI knows it, right? So
Correct.
you may ask me that what is the need for students to learn in the first place? Right. So I would then counter question you that when we have our primary education, we study about physics, chemistry, biology, we study about subtraction, multiplication, those things. That builds the base, right? That builds the fundamental level base in our mind. So that is irreplaceable. That is absolutely important. That
Correct.
is non-negotiable. That fundamental level of knowledge you need to have. And what I see is, if a person is born, that person is basically a clean slate of an machine learning algorithm. You give data, the person learns, right? If you have a person who has not gone through any primary level education or anything, and then you give that person an AI and you tell that person to build a DCF, of course, that person would not be able to build a
But
DCF, right?
but
So
my question
fundamental
was,
level of knowledge is non-negotiable.
suppose I know the basics. I might not be an expert. For example, I
Okay.
might know the financial products. I might know how does swap work, FSA,
Mhm.
FRA, all of these things. But I might not have very specific information of how does it work in a particular market or some specific risk. Okay, some higher level knowledge. So right now, is there a need so for us to go and learn that, or because it is easily available?
Because it is easily available, you can learn it faster. I would say that. But
Okay,
the need for for you to learn that, I think it has to be always there. You cannot say that okay, AI will help me, so let me not learn, because then you will become dumber, right? And we don't want that. Using a lot of
correct.
AI, your cognitive ability reduces. We don't want all of those things. I mean, I've seen so many people drafting emails using AI. That is something you should never do. Absolutely, you should never do that. I know it's very quick, it's very easy, but if you're doing that, you're just deteriorating your sentence formation and all of those skills, right? The need for you to learn something, is non-negotiable. You absolutely have to do that, and you should do that, or else
Mm,
you will be replaced by AI.
correct. The reason I asked you this question because two weeks back somebody asked me the same question, that why there is an when he was preparing for an exam, he is preparing for an
Mhm.
exam, but his question was not that I would not know the basics, but do I need to be an expert? The way we used to learn and become an expert at something, is there a requirement now? Because of AI, everybody
Mm.
is on the same level now.
Absolutely.
Everybody who has the basic knowledge. So that triggered the
Absolutely.
question, and
And
I have
that has the
also
answer itself. That fact has the answer itself. With
yes,
AI,
if
everyone
everybody
has
has
a base level. Then
okay,
your competition is not with AI. Your competition is with other people applying for the same role, for example, right?
correct.
So you need to use AI to upskill yourself and be the expert on that thing so that you have an edge over others having the same base with the AI.
Coming back to the Python discussion, uh, 5 years back, 7 years back, writing a code, learning Python to code was a big thing. But now
Yeah.
AI can immediately give you the code. You might have the basic understanding of what does code tells you. You might be able to read the code, and you can put a prompt and get the entire code in hand. So how is that evolving now for banks or financial institutions? If you're going to work in say quant finance roles, how is it evolving? That role is evolving.
This thing has evolved quite a lot, I would say. So long back before the chat GPT started, before that pre-AI era, I would call it, I used to learn how to code using Python libraries. So documentation of those libraries. Say, for example, you have NumPy library, right? You have a specific function of a NumPy library. How to apply that function in your code base. I need to go to that documentation, read the documentation. It used to take a lot of time, see how many parameters can there be, what are the parameters, what they do inside of that function. That level we used to go and then apply that, right? Now if you have a problem, you just write it to ChatGPT or any AI, it would give you the code, and that to a very optimized code, right? Which like probably a senior coder would give you, right? I think that the fact that I actually did all of those grunt work before, uh, I was fortunate enough to do that. बिकॉज अगर पाइथन कोडिंग सीखता, मैं उस तरह से नहीं सीखता. Thankfully my base was stronger because I was in pre AI era, and I completely understood exactly how Python works, exactly how all of the libraries work. But someone trying to code with Python right now, they can do that very easily using LLMs, right? But they would not, if you just take away their internet and take away their local LLMs if they have it, then they won't be able to code even a single line, right? But we would be able to do because we taught ourselves in that pre AI era. But I would also not tell people to go and read libraries right now,
Hmm.
because it's a waste of time. Because given the fact that you would have internet anywhere in the world always, and you would have the power of LLM, why not just use that to do your work very quickly?
Correct. I have one final big closing question. Suppose, imagine there is a student who wants to make his career more future proof ready for the next 10, 15 years. What is that one thing that he should do now? Start doing now.
There are a few things in my mind. First of all, knowing the practical view of what that student is learning, any concept, what is the practical view? Psychologically, how does it actually hold good in the real world, right? And knowing what all subjectivity can there be. If it's a purely objective topic, it's fine. But of course, for example, CFA level 3, we have portfolio management, right? There are so many subjective calls that a portfolio manager has to take, right? The AI will not be able to take those things, right? So understanding the psychology, behavioral finance, and the subjectivity in anything is something we should absolutely focus on, because the objective things will be eaten up by AI very soon.
Interesting. I mean, again, this conversation is going to be really helpful for our audience and people who are curious about understanding how AI is going to evolve in the next few years and how it is going to impact their jobs. So again, thank you Mudit, for taking out time and talking to us today about all of this. This is going to be really helpful for the finance students who are part of our chat. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, sir.